morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. Now, with the Morning Magazine, here's Cal HIlke.
Thank you, Jerry, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's show on AM 1320 and streaming live at WFHR.com. We also welcome our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Jesse is here, and the reason why, it's time for our monthly update from the Wood County Sheriff's Department, and we're expecting Captain Quentin Ellis, but I guess he's under the weather with a bug, so we hope he's feeling better. But we have Chief Deputy Randy Dorhorst and Investigator Jeremy Keith, and if you've been listening to past shows, you know Jeremy is the person to ask questions involving internet scams of all sorts. And with that, we welcome Randy Dorhorst and Jeremy Keith. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Carl.
Okay, so the reason why you decided to bring Jeremy with us today?
Well, this is an interesting time of year when everybody's filing their taxes, and we get a lot of tax fraud scams and phishing scams on the internet and revolving around taxes. And some people go to file their taxes and they found out that somebody already filed them for them. So we're hoping to give you a little bit of tips on how to prevent some of that stuff. And
okay, well, Jeremy is definitely the person. We before the show, folks, I was talking with these gentlemen about something that happened in our office the other day, last week, and we got a call from a business in town. I'll keep them their identity confidential, but it was a financial-related business who said, "Did Carl call me?" And I had not called this business, but they got a call on their phone, and it had my name on the caller ID. And I'm going, no, there's no reason why I would call this business. Is that, what do they call that, first off?
Well, it can be any number of things, but more than likely it was someone, fishing, basically fishing for information, just like what it sounds like. You go fishing, you dangle a hook. Well, these people call and pretend to be someone else and then just try to get person they're talking to give them any sort of information they could, personal identifying information that they would then be able to use to take out loans or credit cards or whatever in your name. So in this day and age, it's so simple, with different software available on computers and phones to spoof phone numbers. So basically I can set it up so when I can call you right now and make it look like it's coming from whoever I want. You basically enter the name and number that you want it to appear. So then that's why when this gentleman got the call, it said your name and number. Well, that's not really where it was coming from, but you don't know that from your caller ID. So that a lot of times enough to fool people. And then lucky for you, he was on the ball and knew that, this doesn't sound right. So,
okay. So then he called here,
yep.
Found out, no, it wasn't me.
Unfortunately, a lot of times people, especially if you don't have like a personal relationship with someone where they don't know you that well, they would know better that it wasn't you. And, next thing you know, you'd be talking with one of our officers about your own identity theft.
Okay. You mentioned one of the things that's happening, this is the tax season, and people can find out during tax time that their identity has been stolen.
Yeah, unfortunately, we go through this every year. And we only see a fraction of the complaints. Most of them go to the IRS. I mean, we'll see the initial complaint, but basically what happens is, whether you file your own taxes with software at home or you go through a professional and have them do it, they submit the taxes to the IRS and to the state, and they get notified that, this return has been declined or denied because you've already filed taxes. And basically what that means is that somewhere someone was able to get a hold of your personal identifying information, social security number, and name, date of birth, and that kind of thing, and they went and filed taxes in your name. the federal government is taking steps to try to prevent this with PIN numbers and that sort of thing, but every year it still happens. And, we see this a lot. We see it on the news with the big data intrusions you hear about.
Right.
And that's oftentimes where, the information is coming from. And, because we'll see, we have one local business that a lot of its employees were getting hit with this because someone got into their personnel file records through, hacked or whatever you want to call it, and, got all the employees' information. And so they've just, for the past several years now, we get a few every year or more people from this company who go to file their taxes and find out someone already beat them to it.
Okay.
And that's that investigation on that scale that's being handled by the IRS.
If that happens to you, what should you do?
First, contact local law enforcement right away, and they'll send someone out, and there's some forms that we'll have to have you fill out, and you'll have to, one of them, the identity fraud affidavit, you'll send that in to the IRS, and that notifies the IRS that the return that they have in your name was fraudulent, and then they'll start the investigation on that. But then that also will then allow you to be able to file your own taxes then, so you can get your return and get everything taken care of. It can be some process though, so it'll probably take a few months for all this stuff, before you finally get your taxes filed. But first, like I said, first thing, just contact law enforcement, and we'll go through with you steps to secure your identity, and try to help you from there. Okay,
you say, Randy, you get these kind of calls every year?
Yes, and just to share an example, some years back, a family member, actually was my mother-in-law, gets a phone call that she had from the Social Security office, and said she had some problems with some of her Social Security check going into her, depositing it into her account. So what did they do? They knew her name. Well, you can get that from the phone book, first and last name. Then they read the checking account routing number, which is a common routing number. As long as they know a bank you're going at, they get the routing number. What's the next thing they did is they repeated went from the routing number to your actual account number, and they ran a bunch of numbers and caught her off guard, and she inadvertently corrected them. Says, oh, this is it. So, these people are professionals. Majority of our society out here goes to work and has a legitimate job. That's their job, ripping off other people. And that's when you go into a phishing scam. It's so easy to get people mixed up, especially sometimes in elderly people who don't do a lot with computers and electronics. They call, they give you enough information that is easily accessible to anyone. It's public knowledge. Then when they read their information off to you, you correct them and actually give them the correct information. And next thing you know, you get scammed.
Okay, so when someone's doing that, basically hang up.
Exactly. And if they don't know something of yours, you shouldn't correct them. You should be making the phone call when you want something corrected, not receiving one.
Where our phone lines are open this morning at 715-424-2600, and I have these beautiful coins that honor Sheriff Reichert's service. Why don't you just...
They're actually challenge coins, similar to the the tradition started in the military, I believe, and a lot of departments do it, and there's a lot of people that kind of collect them, but yeah, they're really neat. They're, it's got our seal on it. And,
it's beautiful.
They're just kind of neat, except for people that like to collect, like, military or law enforcement kind of things. But yeah, they're very, very similar, to the military challenge coins that most people probably heard of.
Okay, and these gentlemen were kind enough to bring 3 of these. So the first 3 callers today will get one of these coins, plus hopefully an answer to their question. Good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine. Your question or comment for either Chief Deputy Dorhorst or Investigator Keith.
I have a question. We keep getting this phone call from portfolio recovery systems. It can be any time of the day, 7 days a week. 3 times a day, sometimes 4. Do you know anything about that portfolio recovery? I'll be listening on the air.
Why don't you, if you, we have one of these coins. If you give me your first name, we'll save this coin for you, and you can pick it up here at the station.
My name is Joanne.
Joanne? Okay, Joanne. Well, you stop by at the station at your leisure, and we'll have one of these challenge coins that you can add to your collection or whatever, or give to someone in your family.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
You have a great day.
You too. Okay, can we talk about this? Because there are scams involving collection services, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I have not heard of this particular company, but it definitely sounds like it's very possibly like a credit recovery. Just kind of guessing or speculating here, but one of the things that we see where collections will get involved is those fast cash advance stores. I mean,
right.
And, we have some in town, and they're all over on the internet. Those are very easy for people to get loans. We see a lot of that where someone will get a notification from a creditor like that and say you owe such and such money for this company, and no, I never took out a loan with whatever it is, whatever the
right.
So then you got to kind of go through the whole thing and contact the company, and I didn't do I didn't take this loan out. I want to file this as a fraudulent claim, and then you'll end up having to report it to us, and then we'll, usually we work with the company and they'll forgive the loan, and then from there, and try to investigate and figure out who it was that actually took the loan out. There's other possibilities, but that's one of the more common ones that I see that the credit recovery services are involved. Because in that the tricky part with that is they don't, those quick loans like that, they don't need credit. Normally if you get a loan, you got to pull a credit report.
Right.
These don't appear on there. They don't do that. So even if you check your credit report every year like you should be, those don't appear, so you wouldn't even know. You
wouldn't even know that somebody has hacked and used your information to get.
Yes, and usually people don't know until they either get a letter from the company itself or from whatever credit recovery service they're using. And that's usually the time at which they realize, well, no, someone took out a loan in my name. So yeah, those are tough, and that, like I said, I'm just guessing there. I don't, there's. The thing with these scammers, they're always ahead of us. These people, like Randy said, it's their job and they're good at it. We don't know about what scam they're doing until someone like Joanne calls and tells us.
Okay. Why don't we get to our next caller? And good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine.
You mean I'm not going to get that money from the Nigerian prince?
No, we're not.
Hey, I just want to say you guys... very timely information, and hats off to both of you gentlemen for bringing that forth to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want one of these challenge coins?
My wife got one a couple weeks ago, so it's only fair to give it to somebody else.
Okay, that's very good. Very good.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for the program.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. And let's get right back to this caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for your service to the community. I had an interesting, more of a comment than a question. I went to purchase a handgun on Friday from one of the sporting goods stores in the area, and I found it interesting that there was a well-dressed middle-aged couple in their probably mid-50s that were looking at a pistol grip shotgun, and shortly thereafter there was another pretty well-dressed couple, probably in their 40s, that were looking at a AR-style sporting rifle. And long and short of it was, well, I was there waiting for my application to be approved. Both of those people were approved and left the store with their firearms, and I was purchasing a small subcompact handgun, and that was Friday at 11 o'clock, and that did not go through the Wisconsin Department of Justice until 11 o'clock on Monday morning. So it was about about a 72-hour waiting period for that handgun. When I talked to the clerk, she said that most of the people that had purchased handguns over the weekend were all in the same situation, so it wasn't just me. I don't even have a traffic violation on my record. So, again, what you see on and hear on the news is always what the personal experience is. But I thought I'd pass it along to some of the listeners there.
Okay. Did you want one of these challenge coins?
I sure do. You bet.
What's your name?
Paul.
Okay, Paul, you can stop by the station, and we'll have it here at the station for you.
I really appreciate it. And I was doing a little searching on the internet. I see there's almost 300, and at the end of 2017, almost 330,000 concealed carry handgun permits in Wisconsin, and my son and I both have permits. So just some information for the listeners.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate it. I'm sure these guys do, too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye.
Thank you.
Why would that vary? Why would someone be able to... He had to wait, and those folks could walk in.
Sometimes there's different waiting on long guns versus handguns.
Okay. Okay, so there could be there's a difference.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
And also the amount of people at one particular time would apply for permit because it has to go through to get checked and in the background. And sometimes if there's a high volume at some certain time, it takes longer too.
And they might have had purchased in advance, or maybe said we want to hold this for us, and they went through the process, and then they came to pick up.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we got another. You guys are popular today. Okay, you're on the morning magazine. You're whoa. Hopefully you're feeling better.
Yeah, that's one of them that just hang on all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a call here about 3 weeks ago from a company down south. So they said Florida area for a free cruise, but you had to send them $500. And he did have my bank number and all this good stuff. Routing number. The only thing he didn't have is a check number, or what was it? Something anyway. He didn't have $500. Yeah, it was a $500 cruise, and I just figured it was a scam, but he kept telling me, no, this isn't. So finally, eventually, I did hang up on him. But
Jeremy, you're shaking your head through the whole thing. You sound like this is an oldie but goodie.
Well, yeah, the routing number, that's easily, for any bank, that's easily obtainable. I mean, it's just like their ID. That's what he was after, was your account number, because you need both of those. And as far as, you want a cruise, well, that's, we see that with that kind of thing, where Publishers Clearinghouse or the lottery, the Canadian or Jamaican lottery, and there's always that thing, you just need to send us this amount of money to release the funds or pay the taxes or pay whatever fees it is, and and unfortunately, all too often we'll see people that'll actually send that money, and then they'll come back and say, now we need another $1,000 for this now. They'll just keep going back to the well until the person realizes that they're being scammed, and then...
Or they'll send you a check over the amount of what it actually is, and they ask for that. You send the extra money back and mail them a check back, or a cashier's check. So what actually you're doing is you're getting a fake, fraudulent check, and you're getting them real money back.
Real money back, yeah. That's kind of what I figured it was, but...
Yeah, you did the smart thing, my friend. Would you like one of the... you get the last challenge coin. Who is this?
Harold.
Harold, you can stop by the station at your leisure and pick it up.
All righty.
Okay. Well, thank you for the call. You did the right thing, buddy.
Yes.
Good job.
Keep listening. This is a good show.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. That's why we're doing it. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Another real interesting scam out there is the caller will identify themselves as such and such a sheriff's office or police department, and they say that they have a loved one or a niece or nephew or grandson. They have them. They're in jail.
Yeah.
They need to pay the bond to get them out, and they ask to send money, and how they send it. when we arrest somebody, we don't call around and ask for bond.
The government agencies in general, we don't call, none of them call and ask you for money. Our local, because we'll see they'll call claiming to be from local reputable law firms. These law firms are not calling asking for your money. Hospitals, they do a lot of this stuff. Oh, you have a bill you owe us money for. And what Randy was talking to, another variation of that one would be someone calling and claiming they're a public defender and your grandson's in jail because they got into a car accident. So send me $2,000 to cover the damage to the car, and then I can get him out of jail. Or in this instance, like Randy was talking to, yeah, I'm Captain. Sometimes they may even have a correct name, but oftentimes it's just a random name made up from, we had one here a couple of years ago, Captain so-and-so from Wood County Jail. Your loved one is in jail here. I need money for bond. And, a lot of times we'll see, we see them targeting our elderly population and claim it's for a grandchild. And grandma and grandpa, what do they want to do? Well, they want to help their grandson,
sure they
granddaughter.
do.
So they often I'll just pay the money, and these people are good. Like Randy said, this is their job, is they'll keep pressuring. They won't, because you'd say, well, why don't you hang up and call your grandson? Well, these people are really good at keeping you on the line and making it seem like if you hang up, really bad stuff is going to happen. So it's just pressure, and they're kind of salesmen in a way,
Yeah, but the bottom line is what you need to do is hang up.
100%, and then just call and report it. And a lot of the times, there's not, unfortunately, a lot we can do with some of this stuff other than what we're doing right now is try to educate. Most of the time we see these things, the money's leading out of the country. Very rarely does the end point of this money terminate in the continental United States.
So these calls are originating, like, say, from Jamaica or something.
The common ones that I've seen, Jamaica, Nigeria, India, China. That whole region.
Russia. I heard there's some from Russia.
Yeah. Pretty much. And the thing of it is that. Then obviously I don't have jurisdiction out of the country.
Right.
Our federal agencies do, they've had some success with some of these countries. I know the postal inspectors, they worked with the Jamaican government and they took down a big ring of the Jamaican lottery people and put a bunch of people in jail from that. And I know our government has been putting pressure on Nigeria, trying to get them to curb some of this stuff. But again, we're kind of at the mercy of these other countries. But our federal law enforcement agencies are trying. So the best thing is to keep reporting it, and hopefully we'll keep pressuring these countries and get them to stop.
Yeah, but here's the other problem with that is, and I've read in some of the articles about this. These officials, like they say, their business. This is their business. Yep. They know how to buy off officials.
Absolutely,
Here's your take. Thank you.
How motivated are these countries to keep the money out of the country because they're bringing in millions upon millions of dollars into their country? The money's being spent there.
Yeah.
So what motivation? And there's people over there, no doubt, that do want to stop it, but that's a lot of money and.
This is interesting. When we get, we're going to take our first break, and the phone lines are open. Some great questions. If you've come across something that you think is a scam and you want to run it by these gentlemen, feel free. The phone lines are open right till 11 o'clock, 715-424-2600. We have Chief Deputy Randy Dorhorst and Investigator Jeremy Keith from the Wood County Sheriff's Department, and we're highlighting scams. It's tax time, folks. You got to be careful. And I want to talk a little bit about title scams too with you, as well as the tax scams that are going on. You're listening to The Morning Magazine here on AM 1320.
Good morning and welcome back to The Morning Magazine, presented by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. It's time for part 2. Once again, here's Cal HIlke.
Thank you, Jerry, and welcome back to today's show on AM 1320 and WFHR.com, as well as on Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. You can view this online on their fine website or on your local public access channel on your cable system. And the reason they're here, it's our Wood County Sheriff's Department monthly report. Chief Deputy Randy Dorhorst is here, and Investigator Jeremy Keith is here as well. We're talking about internet scams and scams of all sorts because it's that time of the year. It's like when Robin's returning for the spring. It's tax time, and the scammers are out there. We have a caller online. Caller, please wait. I want to get something that we talked about off air during the break, but there is a scam that could wreck your computer or involves trying to get into your computer, and I guess they're pretty successful at doing so. So,
the most I've actually had this phone call in my personal residence myself, and we have got a number of calls to our office about this, is the caller will say they're from Microsoft, your computer's out of date, and what you need to do is update it. It's a very important update. You have to have it. And what they actually are having you do when they're telling you what to do to update it, and they're actually causing you to manipulate the computer to turn on remote access. So at that point, they have complete control over your computer. And they also ask for some money, and like Investigator Keith explained, they'll actually lock your computer down so you can't even get into it. Unless you pay this ransom. It's actually called what is it? The exacto-technical term for it.
Well, they're just using, like I said, the remote access to, oftentimes it's just as simple as they go into your user profile in Windows and put, a lot of times some people have their password set on their computer so someone can't get into their profile. They change that, a lot of people don't have that set. So then they just enable it, put a password on it, and then lock your computer. And they're the only ones that have that password, and they'll hold your computer hostage, basically.
I've learned that you can put yourself incognito on the web, or should people be doing that more often as a defense against that kind of stuff?
Well, in this scenario, this is literally someone calling your phone. Okay. And like I said, saying, we're from Microsoft or Google or some big company. They wanted a company you're
something reputable.
That you've heard of, and they'll say, it needs updating, or we've found viruses on your computer, and sometimes they do the virus angle and say, pay us X amount of money to get the viruses off your computer. But it always, it'll involve them getting that remote access, which is simple. Giving someone remote access to your computer can take about a minute. You just go to a website, download a file, open it, and give them the code. And once they enter that code, then they're in your computer. And it's just like they can do everything you can from that point.
Wow. Okay. We got a caller, and thank you, caller, for being so patient. And your question or comment? Hello? Hello? Okay, they didn't wait. And remember, folks, Over the Back Fence doesn't begin until 11:06. Okay. So I was going to go into what folks can do at tax time. What can we do, and what should we be doing to try and prevent this from happening in terms of someone filing a tax return that we didn't file?
Well, in some respects, it's hard. The best advice is get your taxes filed quick. Don't wait till April 15th to do it. I've already got my return. I've had it for 3 weeks. Because unfortunately, with all of the data breaches that we hear about in the news, experts in this field say that it's not a matter of if your data is available out there. It's a matter of if you get picked to be a victim. Because for the most part, if you've ever shopped online or used a credit card at a big store, we're at that point, we're surrendering our personal information, and we're at the mercy of these companies to protect that. And as we see in the news all too often, that's not happening. And they don't always, and they aren't always targeting like Home Depot. Sometimes they'll target smaller banks. They just, because that information to them is money. So that, the best thing, like I said, just, everyone should be monitoring their credit report yearly. You're entitled every year to a free credit report. Many credit cards come with credit monitoring. They monitor your credit report for you. Utilize this stuff and keep an eye on that. And like I said, the taxes. I mean, I don't have a real good tip on how to prevent it other than file them early. It seems
they hit, or the closer people are getting desperate to file their tax.
It's just more time for them to, but the thing is, a lot of the times the people that are having their taxes stolen, the scammers are filing them in January. They're getting them out there right there, a lot of times probably before we even could file them because we don't have our W-2s from work yet. So there might not be anything you can do to prevent it. So report it, and hopefully the IRS figures out a way to really lock this down to prevent it. But we're kind of at their mercy with some of this. So
I guess that's the other thing. Whenever you suspect that someone has made an attempt at a scam, or you've been a victim, report it.
Yeah,
so you guys know about it.
We hear this all the time from people. They'll report something, or we'll just, even if it's just talking to someone in the public, and they'll say, hey, I had this the other day, and they'll tell a story like some of the callers have. I didn't want to bother you with it. It's not a bother. We are here for that reason. So if something happens, please don't feel like you're wasting our time or that it's bothering us in any way.
Or be embarrassed by it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're not. If you fall victim to a scam or attempted scam, there's nothing to be embarrassed by. We're not going to put it in the paper and put your name out there, and
right.
But we need to know about it. And might not, not always, a lot of times not always we can do anything to help, but maybe we can use that information to help the next person.
And some things are, pretty much uncontrollable. So if you're worried about, hey, you're going to be embarrassed, or we don't share your information, share it with anybody else that had happened to you, and what you probably couldn't have done anything to prevent it, even if you knew about it. Another thing is he had mentioned doing your credit report. If you utilize a smartphone, your credit card companies now actually give you an app on your phone that you can actually turn your credit cards on and off every time something gets charged in your credit card. You can set a limit. You get a text message. With that software also on the smartphones, is you can do your credit. In order for somebody to get open a credit report, or a credit card, I should say, or take a loan, they have to run a credit report on you. And there's software on the phones that actually show every time somebody run a credit report on you, and that'd be an indicator right there. And especially when you get that free credit report, there's 3 credit reports out there. So you get one a year, so essentially you can get a free one every year. And if you do that, to see that nobody run a credit report on you, you can tell if somebody is trying to scam you, and you can catch it quick enough.
Okay. And there's one I've heard, and I was driving to work, I think it might have been this morning at 4 o'clock hour, and heard an ad on CBS for this company that talked about they help prevent people from having their house title, the title of their home, used to they say in this commercial, as obviously a commercial, but they were saying there are folks that are accessing your title, or using your title to then get loans on your title, and you did not another way of getting money on you. Have you heard any?
I haven't had any reported to me like that, but. It goes back to what Randy said, these people being professionals. And if they're able with computers now to forge these documents, unfortunately it's all too easy. And I guess I'm not saying that everyone should run out and sign up for these companies that are protecting you, but that's a personal decision. But a lot of the stuff that these companies are doing, you can do yourself just by being diligent. I'll be really honest with the title, that I'm not super familiar with it, so I don't have a lot of knowledge on the subject.
Back was investigations at a similar incident where the father and son come in. Son was going to Milwaukee to school, and he went to get an apartment, and what's the first thing to do? The landlord is going to run a background check for you. He run a background check on that Social Security number, and it had all this bad stuff on there. The child has never been really did anything, had any credit. Here to come to find out all these years he was using his Social Security number, and now he's run all this bad credit up on there, and he couldn't even get an apartment in Milwaukee to go to school because of all this bad credit on it.
Oh wow! So, when something like that happens, what can you do?
It's a long and arduous process. Basically, you identify the loans that were taken out fraudulently and just start contacting the companies and filing claims with them. Contact law enforcement. That is one bad thing, is that sometimes some of the stuff, it takes a lot of work, unfortunately, for the victim. A lot of hours on the phone with companies to get these things relieve you of the debt, and then removed from the credit report. There's really no real easy way to do it.
We do have packets at our office, the Sheriff's Department, that you can come and pick up and help you through that. Yep. And some things you do it because you can flag your accounts, flag everything, so if anything goes against it. If you notice something, the bank will put a flag on it right away, so they have to have a phone call from you or a personal visit or something in order for you to do anything.
Okay. Yeah, we have the FTC makes available lots of identity theft information that come in there's one big booklet we give it to any of our victims of one of these. It's got all the preventative things to do, what to do after you've been victimized. For people listening, if you are at all concerned that someone may have your personal information and fear that you're at risk, if you contact one of the 3 credit agencies, tell them that that basically you want your Social Security number flagged, and they'll put a flag on your numbers or on your credit report. So then if someone basically prevents someone from opening up a new account without your specific authorization. So, but if we have these packets available to anyone, and all you need to do is swing on over to the Sheriff's Department, and we have them actually available in the lobby. But there's all kinds of information there, and like I said, it's not just for victims, it's to help prevent you from being a victim. So
we're going to take our last break, and the phone lines are still open, so if you have a question or you got an incident you'd like to let these gentlemen know about, please do so at 715-424-2600. We call it a phone, but it's actually a computer. It's that smartphone. We're going to talk about smartphone safety when the Morning Magazine continues right after this. Welcome back to the final portion of today's Morning Magazine here on AM 1320 and WFHR.com. And Jesse is here as well from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. And remember, you can go to their fine website to view this program or look for it on the schedule of your cable system on the public access channel. But in the studio today from the Wood County Sheriff's Department is Chief Deputy Randy Dorhorst and Investigator Jeremy Keith. We've been talking about internet scams of all sorts, but a lot of it involves the internet. And we call it a phone. I'm holding one up here for our TV audience. It's a smartphone. And we're off air before the show, Jeremy was saying, we forget, this ain't a phone. It's a computer. Well, it has a phone use, but it's a computer. It's a handheld computer.
Absolutely. Normally when me walking around during the day, I have 2 computers on me at all times between my personal and professional phones. But these phones, you can do everything just about. I shouldn't even say just about, because you basically can do everything from a phone that you can from a computer now.
Same here, yeah.
Especially with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, and many people, I know many people don't even own computers because I don't need a computer, I have my phone.
Right.
You can do everything the same way. So I spend $1,000 on a computer when you got one, from the phone company. But people sometimes may forget that, for those that do have computers, you've probably got some sort of antivirus, and if you don't, please put some on there. On the computers, well, same thing for your phones, especially for people that are using the phones, like as I do with for banking or credit cards and that, with different apps. You should have some sort of virus monitoring software on your phone as well, and if you're browsing internet-wise, don't think that the phone's immune to, viruses, because it's not. They're there. Oftentimes probably easier to fix maybe than a computer, but they can do the same damage nonetheless. So just don't lose sight of the fact that, these phones have our lives on them. We're every day, you use your phone, you're basically, chronicling your life on that device. So that's a gold mine to someone to get their hands on. So
should always lock it too.
Yeah,
and
especially, yeah.
I'm not going to say that this is not a. Usually it's like two-part authentication, meaning you have to have the device and you have to know something in order to open up the phone. Well, some use their thumbprint, index finger, or something of the print. Oh, that's great. But when you're at a party and you're a little intoxicated, you have too much to drink, you fall asleep, somebody grabs your phone, puts your finger on, and they can open your phone for you. So usually the set up either 4 or 6 part to open your phone. You should always go to 6 parts. You have to have the special passcode to open it up. That is always the safest. And keep it locked. Again, somebody gets a hold of your phone, they can get to everything.
I see another thing, too. If you're in a pub or going to a dinner somewhere,
leave it on the bar.
And don't ever leave your phone on the bar.
Well, and, for anyone thinking that, maybe that's not common or not reasonable, but Randy was saying about maybe if you're out having a good time or whatever, but we've had instances like that where people have had that where they've maybe had a few too many beverages and lose track of their phone over the evening, and next thing you know, they're in our department reporting because someone stole stuff off their phone, whether it be maybe some embarrassing pictures or information, and problem is a lot of times then that stuff ends up getting shared or used against you. And so, yeah, lock the phone. Like I said, at a minimum, at least the thumbprint it's a great thing, but yeah, the password is recommended also.
Okay. Well, we got another caller, so let's get to their question or comment. Good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine.
Good morning. We're fairly new with our smartphone, and we've hardly had it too long, but we're getting at least 3 calls a day from people that hang up right away. Today I finally got an answer. I said, hello. I'm looking for Stephanie, they say, and it sounds like an India person, and I got his number this time. I got someone calling here named Rachel, too, from California. These calls are, and there's 3 a day.
And that could be one of 2 things. Either they're spoofing the number and doing a scam on you, or remember, there's only so many numbers out there. So what happens is if I get rid of my phone today and I turn my phone in, go to another company, they got my old phone number, that phone number gets recycled. So now somebody else is calling, think they're calling Stephanie, because that was Stephanie's phone number before. They're supposed to recycle them at a certain interval so you don't get the same numbers.
It does sound like a scam because it's really someone very foreign.
Most likely that's what it is.
Are they asking you for anything?
They don't get that far. I said to him, Steph, this is not Stephanie's number. You'd better find a new one. But I did get his number this time. Sometimes it flashes so fast.
Sure.
But I've got that number.
And usually if you call the number back and you get a busy signal or nothing happens, it's a spoofed number.
Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to get your number. Explain spoofing.
Well, it's just basically, like I said, it's just whether they're using a phone or voice over internet, but basically it's just software or an app that basically you type in whatever number you want it to appear to be coming from. In the scams we were talking about where they were saying that they were from the sheriff's department, the number came up with our phone number because the person, probably went online and found our phone number, and then they typed that into the software. Then when they make the call,
It looks like it's coming from you.
Yeah,
That's spoofing.
Yes, it spoofs our phone number, basically, and it masks the true number where it's coming from. A lot of times they don't even bother with that, just because with the voice over internet phone capabilities, again, I've done many search warrants and subpoenas to these companies to get the information on a phone number to find that it's originating in one of the countries I was talking about, and at that point I'm done.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know how to stop this, but I'm going to call the number back and see if I get nothing like you said.
Your smartphone also, depending on the phone, might have most of them now have the capability to block numbers.
They do?
So you could try that.
There's a little exclamation mark on your phone.
Depends on the model.
Yeah, I shouldn't say most of them anyways. They have like an exclamation mark or question mark. When a number comes up, you click on that and you scroll down and you can just hit block that number, and that number will never come up again.
Here's another one coming, and I'm getting bothered all the time.
Okay.
This is a different number this time.
Okay.
Well, thanks. I'll have my grandkids do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we have a live example, folks. Okay, real quick, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Wood County Police. They do a terrific job out there. And, gosh, I'm really happy that we have you. And that lady called about that scam with that Rachel. That went around through the ham radio bands that it is a scam, and everyone was warned on amateur radio that do not give out any information. If you hear the word Rachel, hang up. And it is a scam.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the heads up.
Yep, it is a scam. So, okay, have a good day, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye. She's one of the local ham operators, I think.
And just one, never, under no circumstances, give out your information to anybody, regardless of who they're calling for. Someone's calling you, asking you for information, they don't need to know it. And if it's a company you're doing business with, you're going to be calling them to a number that you're sure of, and you know who you're talking to. But people calling you, don't give out your information. Someone calling you, asking you to send them money, don't do it. Especially if they're asking you to use gift cards or MoneyGrams or that kind of thing, because those are so easily transferable and hard to track. So,
yeah. The bottom line, if you have any questions, hang up.
Yep. And if you have questions unanswered, call and ask talk to a police officer.
Yeah. Call your local police agency, or they can call the sheriff's department and talk to you, or
depending. Yeah, they call dispatch. Really, a lot of times the deputies can handle a lot of these answers.
Okay.
And they can actually, we dispatch them. You can actually come to your house.
Yeah.
So you have to inconvenience you so much to come in to try to get in here, see somebody. They call dispatch center. Will actually send a deputy to your house and assist you right there.
Okay, and I guess be aware that this is the time of the year. There's certain times of the year.
Yeah, this is one of them, where it's the tax season is one of them. So just be aware, be mindful, and if you have any concerns, flag your Social Security number. So.
What should you do if you have someone who does your taxes for you professionally?
And well, I mean, they know the professionals deal with this probably more than I do, because they see they see it so much. So business as usual. Our tax professionals are good at what they're doing, and they're not doing anything wrong. It's just they find out that unfortunately they got to be the bearer of bad news. Someone scammed you and filed your taxes in your name.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for a very interesting program. We could do another hour, and I'm sure we'd have a lot of different phone calls, but I know you guys are busy. But I thank you so much, Jeremy and Randy. I thank you guys for this, and hopefully, and if you missed any of this program, or if you want to re-listen to it, it's archived at WFHR.com. Use the and Morning Magazine. You can also watch it at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. They'll have it on their site, and look for it on your cable system on your public access channel. But it bears, if you want to listen again and take notes, I would highly suggest that. Guys, again, thank you so much for your service and for educating us on this important issue, and have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's Chief Deputy Randy Dorhorst and Investigator Jeremy Keith, wrapping up this edition of the Morning Magazine.